Defensively, we're trying to force, before we get scored on, we are trying to force teams into 32 turnovers a game. So it's more, people say we don't play defense. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. We go after it really hard, but we gamble so much that if we don't get the basketball back, then we are prepared to get scored on to keep the pace of play going.
So is it almost a case where you talk about how you want to get the ball every 12 seconds? For example, if you go for the steal, but then you don't get the steal, then
give it up.
Yeah.
And let's go.
Let them score. And fans love this, I guess.
Every place, we've been everybody's best crowd. And at home, at the RB Gym, it's just been packed every game. And, there's a lot of Division III programs that play in sterile environments. We're not one of them. And so our kids have really been the beneficiary of being able to get used to playing in front of a lot of people, which is good for us.
Steve, how do you like this system?
I love it. It's helped us win a lot of games in the last 4 years, I feel like, and it's fun to play in.
Now, I understand that you came from Peoria, and in high school, now you're averaging what, 29 points a game, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I understand in high school you averaged 4.
Yeah, that's right. I was a pass first point guard. We won a lot of games there too, but I like this a little bit better.
I would think so. Well, this is in a lot of pass first now. You are passing the ball around, but not for very long if you have to shoot in 12 seconds.
No, as a point guard on the team, against man-to-man defenses, my job is to go and score or get a double team. So if they don't double team, my job is to score. So it's a green light. So take advantage of it.
Well, a lot of fans here in Des Moines had a chance to watch you guys play last year because you came in and you played Kurt Kanaski's Drake basketball team, and I think the final score I want to say was something like 160 to 110.
That's right.
It wasn't one of our better outings. It was one of those deals. Like in the first 5 to 7 minutes of play, sometimes you're able to plant that seed of doubt, and we just didn't get things going the way we wanted early on. But we've played 2 Division I teams over the last 10 years now, and Northeastern Illinois was the other, and we played them at their place. Up 6 at the half, had our last lead with 10 minutes to go, which is, I think, a little bit more. And we actually scrimmage Indian Hills every year, and we've had pretty good success with them coming up on top. So usually when we're playing teams that have bigger kids like that, we're able to create a lot of 5-on-4 situations. The big kids tend to protect the basket, and we tend to have our 5th player at the 3-point line, so we're able to create a lot of offensive opportunities that way.
Where did this philosophy of yours come from? Because you've been involved in basketball for how many years, Dave?
About 25 years. I don't know, to be honest with you. I know what
it came to you in a dream one night and said, I think we're going to start shooting a lot more.
I know we were struggling. I inherited a program that had 25 consecutive losing seasons, and I did a conventional thing my first 2 years, and we got drilled, and the morale was bad. And I knew we needed to do something different. I remember talking to my younger players and saying, hey, we've got to change things. Obviously nobody's having fun, and I do value participation. I think that's a really big ingredient here. We play 16 kids a game, and I really think, especially at the Division III level, kids aren't playing for scholarship money, so they're coming out because they love the game, and if I can get them in there in any way, shape, or form, I feel good about that. And I did have a hockey background. I came from a hockey town, and I used to really admire the concept of going as hard as you can, as long as you can, and then letting a teammate take over. And so we combined a lot of different aspects along with some pretty good 3-point shooting, and came up with an initial system which probably doesn't really resemble that much what we do now. Each year has its own little, like Stephen as an example came into our program at a point in time when everybody was stretching and taking away the 3-point shot, and he has the ability to hit 15-footers, at about a 70% clip. And especially when teams were playing zone and that soft underbelly, he just goes crazy under there. So we've changed through the years. I think it's been an evolutionary process, but I think the one thing that's held true is we're entertaining, and I play a lot of kids. And I think those two go hand in hand to creating a nice environment.
Well, you have what's known as line changes.
We do.
I remember when Bob Quinn, the public address announcer at Drake, was whenever you'd make a change, it was always line change.
Right.
And that's what you call them, right?
It is. That's what we do.
There's the hockey background.
And it used to be, early on, we were going about 2.5 minutes, and then we'd get a new 5 on. We cut it down to 2, 1.5. Now we're at the point where we get a new 5 on the first whistle after 35 seconds have elapsed off the game clock. And sometimes I know he struggles with that sometimes. I see him giving me dirty looks sometimes.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. How do you deal with that? Because I'm sure as a player, I mean, you want to get in there and start to get a little feel for the ball game, and you can't really because you realize one whistle and you're out of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of frustrating, like, to get a good game going and knowing that you can really only affect half of the game. It's sort of, like, frustrating in that way that, I mean, the most I'm going to play in a game is maybe 23 or 24 minutes or something like that, and that's if we go to what we call finishing group relatively early. If we don't have, we don't go to that, I'll play 18 minutes a game, and I mean, that's sort of tough, but I mean, at the same time, you realize that that's what's necessary to win.
I have that battle with my best player every year. You know,
oh, I'll bet.
Like, and it's probably stopped some recruits from coming our way. Like, and I understand, you know, but the reality is, if you're going to play the system the way I'd like it to be played and at the pace I'd like it played, if you're playing more than 16 to 18 minutes a game, you've got to give up something. You got to create some kind of shortcut to exist out there. And so, and I'd prefer to be in a situation where it's just one rule for all, you know. And we've made adjustments to certain personnel. Like, I mean, he is sometimes better on the floor tired than his replacement is fresh. You know, and if that's the case, then we'll play him extended minutes. But over the course of the season, I think that'd be pretty wearisome for him.
Now, you don't keep the same 5 guys together in a unit.
No,
do you?
no.
I mean, you'll, for example, if Steve here is red hot,
right,
you want to get him back in the ball game. You don't want him just rotating every 3rd or 4th unit in.
Well, he's at a point right now, and it'll depend on the schedule. Like, sometimes we'll be traveling 7 hours up to Wisconsin to play a game on Friday night, back by a game on Saturday afternoon. And so you have to kind of factor in a little differently on the substitution pattern than if you were playing a game on Saturday and you didn't have a game for a whole week. You know, like, you had a lot more time to recover. So, but all the shifts are pre-planned about 48 hours before a game, so a person will know when he's going to go on, how much he's going to play, and have an expectation of what he's supposed to do while he's out there. And we do follow that script. So there's not a whole lot of in-game adjustments to cater to somebody that might be having an extraordinary night.
Do you ever go to him, Steve, and say, look, Coach, I'm hot. Put me back in.
Give me an honest answer on that one.
Well, I don't really go to him. I sort of give him looks throughout the game. Sort of like, I don't know.
Does it do any good?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Well, like, we go to 1-2-1-2 at some point in the half, which means our top 10 guys rotate in every 45 seconds instead of like 15 or 16. And I like to get to that point as soon as we can. So that means, like, everyone's playing. Who's playing is playing 1 out of 2 shifts. And I don't know. Around 10 minutes or so, I sometimes look down the bench, like, you know, when are we going to do this, you know, sort of thing. But I don't know. At the same time, I mean, I'm playing a lot as it is. I mean, the least I'll play is 2 out of 5, and I'll play 1 out of 2. I mean, that's only a difference of probably for me 1 shift per half, so it's not that big a difference either way.
I know you have to throw other teams off like crazy. I know, talking to the folks at Drake, it probably took them 2 or 3 games to adjust back to regular, what they're used to type of basketball.
Well, it's tough on other teams, you know, and we have a heck of a tough time getting non-conference games scheduled, especially with Division III teams that are starting at the same time as us, and maybe in that first month of the season want to work out the kinks of their quarter-court offense and defense. We don't let anybody play offense, and nothing's structured. You have to respond to what we're doing, and what we're doing is double teaming the ball. So it's not an easy thing, and I know as many records as we set, other teams are setting records against us. I know that, like, one of the pitfalls for another coach is maybe they'll have somebody play on the back end of their press breaker who's averaging 8 points a game, and he goes for 55 against us, and now he considers himself a scorer for the next 3 weeks, and the coach has a tough time getting him back into a team mode.
Well, J.J. Sola, for example, I think he scored 40-something.
And that's not uncommon. Whoever's sitting on the back of the press is going to be the beneficiary of a lot of opportunity, and sometimes coaches almost have to orchestrate who they're going to put back there and let get the big number. But yeah, no, it's not an easy thing to play against. I empathize with coaches, you know, that are trying to play against us. The better coaches have had a willingness to sit back, relax, and just let it happen.
Just enjoy the game.
Yep.
Well, fans love it, because I know at Drake, I mean, fans came up to me after the game and they said, Lair, this is the most fun I've had here in a long time. Just enjoying watching that style of play, because it's just so helter-skelter back and forth.
Well, it's almost a lost art in professional basketball right now. There's a lot of back it down and one-on-one, slug it out on the low post, and walk the ball up the floor, and it's just, there's a lot of dead time out there, and we try to take away as much of that dead time as possible. So maybe one day somebody will be creative enough to do it at a higher level, and I think it could work at a higher level. But for right now, I think the nature of the game right now is to play quarter-court basketball. That's what the kids are learning how to do.
Dave Arseneault and Steve Wood here from the Grinnell College men's basketball team. Back with more on the Larry Cotlar Show right after this. Welcome back to the Larry Cotlar Show here on Channel 22. Our very special guest, the head coach at Grinnell College, Dave Arseneault, and one of his star players, Steve Wood. And I've got to ask you about the national attention you've received. You've been in the New York Times, you've been on Fox Sports Net, you've been in ESPN, the magazine, and that's all something for Grinnell College, a Division III school out of Iowa.
I think it's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, guys, we had a photo shoot for that ESPN, the magazine, that took 2 hours long. I think kids by the end of that, I know he was giving me some of those looks that we mentioned about earlier. But I think it's great for our kids to get some attention like that.
You enjoy that?
Oh, I enjoyed the magazine. The reason I was upset is I was in the same pose for like an hour with my knee on the wooden floor, and it really hurt. But it's really cool to get this.
That, and of course, Fox Sports Net.
Yep.
Got attention from them. They featured you.
The mushroom effect is that I get requests for game films, and we bought a new nice camera because we were getting a lot of requests for footage, and I do the dubbing myself, and I am backlogged about 2 weeks all the time now. Like every time I go home, it's like somebody just dropping in a load of laundry. I'll just drop a film in and get it dubbed, and there's a lot of interest in what we're doing, and I think that's pretty exciting.
Tell me the most interesting phone call you received that came totally out of the blue from a national organization.
From a national organization.
Yeah.
We got a call in I'm going to say 1998 or 1999. I got a call from an Italian gentleman, and he happened to be visiting New York and saw the article in the Wall Street Journal on us that year, and was he was fascinated, and he said he did some sports writing in Italy, and could he come out and stay with us for a week? And I said, well, sure, and I didn't know who he was, and he came out. He happened to come out at that time when we were letting Jeff Clement stay at the offensive end for the full 40 minutes. So the first game he sees was Jeff Clement going for 77 points, taking 52 three-point shots that night. And so he, and then he travels with us on the road for one game, then he came back and stayed around for another game. He goes back to Italy. Federico Buffa is his name, and he turns out to be the biggest sports writer in Italy. And for the next month, he wrote an article on us, and for the next month, I'm getting all these broken English emails from Italian coaches. So my claim to fame is that I was big in Italy for about a month and a half. But he did a great job with the article. He ended up writing a book called Black Jesus, which was about unconventional people in sport, and sent me a copy of it in Italian with a chapter dedicated to our system, which was pretty neat.
That's got to be pretty cool. And Steve, one reason you can appreciate that is because you're a history major.
That's right. Yeah, it's sort of cool. That's another thing is people have asked me, what do I feel about the system? And I think it's cool kind of being here when it's sort of received national acclaim, really. I mean, it's something that hasn't been done in sports, so it's kind of cool to be here for the beginning of that. I mean, I guess Westhead did a variation, obviously. He started it, but ours is a lot faster and a lot different than theirs if you watch the tapes of both of us. But,
now that being said, we were one game away from a full-scale mutiny his freshman year.
Really?
I think we started off at 1-3. And I swear to you, if we had lost one more game, this guy is so bloody competitive. If we had lost one more game, he'd have been all over me to get out of this system into something more conventional. But I'm glad he stayed with it because it's been good for both of us.
Now, you just played your final home game at Darby Hall.
We did.
Sad, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of memories of that place. And it has outlived its usefulness. I mean, I'm the first to admit that as much as I love the place, as much history as it has, for the kids' sake, the locker rooms, we couldn't host an NCAA tournament game with our best teams because it just didn't comply to media specs. And we are very excited about having something new. But the price of progress is sometimes, you know, that nostalgia, you know. And I mean, I know people come to me and when they come back on these reunions every June, you know, saying, I met my wife in this gym, you know, and that kind of thing. And so that gets to you a little. And we've had some very nice basketball moments there. We do have a home court advantage. It's a low ceiling, so that people can't throw deep against us, and the court's maybe 6 feet short, and the fans are sitting right on top of you. So what's our record there over the last little while?
3 out of the 4 years we've been here, we've been undefeated at home.
That's a pretty good home court advantage.
Sophomore year, we had a rough streak of like 4 games in a row. Early in sophomore year, we lost 4 home games, but other than that, we've been 3 freshman year, junior year, and senior year, 3 undefeated seasons at home.
So you'll have a new building ready for next season?
Yep, and looking forward to it.
Are they calling it Arseneault Arena?
Oh, I don't have enough money for that. But
how about Wood Arena?
I don't have enough money either.
Oh no, you're a student. You're not supposed to have that kind of money yet.
Yeah, so I don't know who's going to get the name.
Whoever gives the most money.
Probably, but I know it's going to be a classy, well-done facility, and I trust that it's going to be a showcase for the campus.
You know, about the only Division I school I can think of that played somewhat similar to your style is Loyola Marymount.
Right.
Under Paul Westhead.
Yeah, and, you know, I really don't even know how much they did. I remember watching some of those games. I remember they had a point guard that was just determined to get from one end of the court to the other just as quick as he could. And I remember a kid named Jeff Fryer, I believe it was.
Well, they had Hank Gathers.
But the Fryer kid in particular struck me because he was in 2-on-1 situations, he was prepared to take a 3-point shot. You know, most teams in 2-on-1s are looking for a layup or a dunk. You know, at that point in time, I think it was a little bit out of the norm to shoot a 3 with the numbers advantage. And yeah, but then after that, then they had the Gathers and Kimball, and those were just great players. You know, they probably could have excelled in any system. I do know defensively, while they probably weren't as aggressive as we are on the full court level, though their kids must have been in unbelievable condition because he didn't play that many kids. You know, like, and for them to play at that pace for that long must have been just, that must have been incredible, the condition they were in.
Could your system work in Division I?
Yeah, and I'm going to qualify that.
Okay.
One of the things that I've been allowed to do is experiment in a vacuum. You know, nobody cares. Like, I mean,
sure.
You know, like, I mean, you know, and we'll have our nights when we went 8 for 80 from the 3-point line and just looked awful, you know. And if the next day the kids are reading about that in the newspaper, and so you get 1 or 2 journalists who don't like what you're doing, and they harp on it. Well, it was easy for me to get the confidence of the kids back because I was just able to look at them the next day in practice and say, hey, all I really want you to do is look at the stat line, how many shots you've attempted. Did you shoot the right number of shots? Yes, 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 yes. Then over the course of the season, it'll take care of itself. Forget it. You know, but if you're reminded about that daily, you can go into a prolonged slump. And so I think the media would have a lot of effect on whether or not this would succeed in any little market. And then the second thing that you'd have to come across is, you know, a lot of those kids are going to have to defer from a playing time standpoint.
Sure.
You know, and it's going to have to be a team approach. And quite honestly, you could probably get away with doing with 12 as opposed to 16 at that level because there's so many media timeouts. You know, you don't get quite as tired.
Right.
But even still, like it'd have to be a one-for-all mentality. You know, but if I had my choice of the best shooters, the best penetrators, the best offensive rebounders, the best defenders, dang, you know, I mean, we're doing it right now without that type of city quickness, you know, and I think it would absolutely work.
Steve, do you think this is a kind of system you could easily recruit to?
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, I think you could get, like you're saying, more specialized players. I don't know if you could get a guy who's all around just really good. I think you could get like a really good shooter who could thrive in it, maybe a really good like athlete who just wants to get a bunch of rebounds. I think what the system allows is people to do their specialties. Like you can be very specialized. We got guys on our team, Steve Norland and Nick Malinowski, who I think, giving looks, are as good as Division I shooters, no doubt about it, and 3-point shot. But they're not as good at penetrators or defenders. But in that system, it doesn't matter because we just ask them to shoot. And like, I know similar things for our offensive rebounders, you know, they're good at that. So I think like you could get good specialists. I don't know it'd be tough to get a good big man here. It'd be really tough because we don't slow down, and you're not going to get pro. If you have aspirations to move on, it's going to be tough to be a post player here, like to play at another level. But maybe you could get top-notch point guards, I think, because they can do, they can penetrate, score.
I'm going to ask each of you this question. Most special game you've been a part of? Now, obviously, they should be different because you've been around 15 years in the program and you haven't.
Well, mine was our first championship game. We played against Ripon College, and I had a kid named Ed Brands from Charles City at the time, who, in all deference, was probably the best athlete and a kid I've coached. And he's a 6'5" two guard. All through the year, he had been willing to take we were doing 3 groups of 5 at the time, and he was willing to take 2 shifts down and really defer his minutes to the rest of the group. And we got to the championship weekend, and I said, Ed, some of these guys haven't been here before. How about we lean on you a little bit? And he, oh, okay. Well, he goes for 50 points in the semifinal, and then in the championship against Ripon, he went 14 for 22 from the 3-point line and scored 60 points. Against maybe the best team in the conference since I've been here. They were 21-1 at the time, and we beat them, I think it was 114 to 96. That score might be off a little bit, but it should be close. And he just put on a show, and the place was rocking, and it was pretty good stuff. We've had a couple that have come close, but that was probably my favorite.
Steve, not a lot of time. What's the game that most stands out to you?
Probably the championship game my freshman year against Illinois College, which put us in the tournament. Basically for that reason. I don't think there was anything spectacular about the game. I do remember a shift late in the game where my group of 5, I think 4 of us hit 3s or something to put the game away, which is pretty cool. But I think just the feeling of knowing we were going to the tournament was really neat, really nice.
I think the fact that he said shift, that tells it all right. Guys, I appreciate you coming in and joining us on Larry Cotlar Show. It's been a real pleasure, both of you. Dave Arseneault and Steve Wood, best of luck to you with all your future endeavors. Now you graduate and then decide what to do with the rest of your life, and you won't. You'll still be doing what you do.
I found my niche.
There you go. All right. I want to thank Dave Arseneault and Steve Wood for joining us on the Larry Cotlar Show. Back for some final thoughts right after this.